Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat.
We're in the month of Elul, the last month of the Jewish calendar. We're in its first week. And again, this is the month we take time to think about the year. And for rabbis, I coin it as it's our diva season. I thought that'd be delivered better. It's where we think we're the most important people on earth, where we write these orations. And when you really think about it, writing sermons is really ridiculous. You get so focused, and those who have written professionally, who have to do it often, you get up and you look at it, and you think it like changes if you look at it at different angles or behind the chair if you face writer's block, but you agonize over a piece that will literally be delivered, I've timed it between 15 and 17 minutes, and then it's done. And then a year later, I couldn't remember what I talked about last year. But you agonize and agonize. And I was talking to a dear colleague of mine, and we were talking about the process of writing sermons, and he asked me, did I get started? I said, yes. I have 3 saved Microsoft Word documents on my desktop, so I got started. He goes, that's better than me. And then he said, how many do you have to write? I said, 3. He goes, what do you mean? I said, for some very interesting reason, I don't give a sermon on Kol Nidre. He's like, you don't give a sermon on the busiest night of the Jewish year? And I said, for some reason at Temple Emanu-El, on one really hot Kol Nidre evening, our great Rabbi Grafman decided to pull one of the greatest rabbinic audibles of all time because it was too hot, and he wanted the congregation to listen to the second rendition of Kol Nidre, give or take, and he decided not to give a sermon, and that's been in effect for decades. And then he said to me, never, ever change that up. And I said, absolutely. But the thing about high holiday sermons versus Divrei Torah, you prepare this agonizing thing, and it's delivered again 15 to 17 minutes. But for some reason, I think the congregation deserves more than I like to have fun, witty titles. You need a trailer. It's like when you want to see a movie. The best thing about going to the movies when we used to do that is sitting through the coming attractions, through the trailers, and to make a more spiritual congregation, I think the congregation should have some type of direction as to what I am going to talk about. And I've always done this in some ways, some more obvious, a little bit more beneath the surface. Rosh Hashanah, the complexities of Jewish life, Rosh Hashanah morning, a vision sermon. But then I wanted to prepare us for Yom Kippur Day. And this is the first time in my career, 12 years, 13 years plus the internship, of talking about the notion of God. And where is God, and how do we find God during the most difficult period of Jewish life for the past 2 years, and the communities and everything we've experienced, from the horrible flood in Texas to everyday experiences that we have to see, whether it's our own diagnosis, bills we have to pay, dealing with horrible financial or family issues. It's the real life. And where's God during these moments? And this is the first time I'm ever going to attempt to not justify, but my argument is we don't get to say we're done. And I don't want to give up. So when Rosh Chodesh Elul, when it started last week, and this is a practice I wish I started teaching this congregation, it's customarily we recite Psalm 27 twice a day, once in the morning service and once in the afternoon service, the Mincha service. Recite Psalm 27. Why do we write Psalm 27? Adonai is my light and my help, whom shall I fear? Adonai is the stronghold of my life, whom shall I dread? When evil men assail me to devour my flesh, it is they, my foes and my enemies, who stumble and fall. Should an army besiege me, my heart would have no fear. Should war beset me, still would I be confident. One thing I ask of Adonai, only that I do seek, to live in the house of Adonai all the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of him, to frequent his temple. He will shelter me in his pavilion on an evil day. Grant me the protection of his tent. Raise me high upon a rock, now my head high over my enemies. I sacrifice his tent with shouts of joy, singing and chanting a hymn to Adonai. And then Psalm 27. It gets to us right here in the Neshama. And I talked about this with a dear friend earlier this afternoon. Shema Adonai koli ekro, v'choneni v'aneni lecha amar levi, bakshu fanai. Hear Adonai, when I cry aloud, have mercy on me. And then our rabbis said, this is why we recite it on every day during Elul. Answer me. In your behalf, my heart says, seek my face. I want to repeat that one more time. Shema Adonai koli ekra. Hear Adonai, when I cry aloud, have mercy on me and answer me. In your behalf, my heart says, seek my face. And this is to teach us that during this month of introspection and reflection, we deserve to have a God who goes through our daily experiences. The notion of the Hester Panim, the hidden God, when it might feel that way, we want our God to answer us. And when we're in our most difficult moments in life, when we're crying aloud, to have mercy and answer us. Because the purpose of prayer is not to change outcomes. It's not why we pray. I mean, yeah, we pray for rain. But prayer is not about outcomes. It's about, this is prayer. It's putting yourself in a different dimension to try to figure out how we can make better things in our lives. Yes, I give a sermon for 15 to 17 minutes. It's over. But repairing a broken relationship can do a lot more. Forgiving yourself that you've done things the past year goes so much more. Having the strength to own up to our own imperfections, the difficulty of saying, I'm sorry, it's so much better than any delivered sermon. I can't imagine what all of you are going through at night. The anxiety, the stress, whatever life throws at you. We all have them. But if we're going to do this Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur thing again and again and again, it's that we get to do it with God. And even though I don't get to give a sermon on Kol Nidre, when I came here, I instituted the tradition of reciting Kol Nidre 3 times, where our presidents, our past presidents, stand here on the bima and face the congregation marching in. The first time we recite it, we are in God's outermost chamber. The second time, we're closer to God. And the third time, when we enter God's chamber, God is not just our sovereign, but God is our friend, understanding what we go through. Regardless of what life throws at us, even with the hostages and the rates of anti-Semitism, we've done this for so many years because we have had faith. We've had it in different capacities, some greater, some not so greater, but I never want to lose sight of that. So I asked this congregation, last week I said do a little Torah. This week, start practicing Psalm 27 twice a day. Prayer's good for you. The rabbi say so 1,800 years ago, and we're still here. They were on to something then. And why break the tradition? Shabbat shalom.